Can I get a packet real quick?
Oh, sure.
If there's any documents that haven't been emailed, would somebody be able to email them just so we can follow along? Otherwise, if everything we already have in the email, then that's fine.
We might need to send them this, but
Is that the,
self-evaluation report that I summary that I sent.
yeah, I will send it out, Rebecca.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
First set.
Oh, we're starting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. We roll call, Steve. Gerardo. Here. Deborah.
Here.
Larry. Here. Jean.
Here.
Myself here. Nathan is absent with warning, and I need to seat Kathy and Rebecca virtually. So moved, okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so we're also seating Kathy and Rebecca. Welcome. Any public comments? Okay, cool. Moving along. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. So part of the committee of the whole was creating this process so that we can save time and we just approve the consent agenda, which approves all of the things that you see in there. So our minutes from last month, the check detail that we talked about during committee of the whole, the technology access policy that we discussed at the last meeting, and any reports from the committee of the whole, which we will eventually be talking about how to make them. So just get it all ready in there.
So when you do the consent agenda, yeah, what Rob just did is he reads off what the items are, and then all you need is motion to approve consent agenda as read. Second, roll call.
And if you do want anything to become a discussion, it can be moved from the consent agenda. If you have the next section is any item removed from the consent agenda that can be discussed if needed. But can you read the items again officially or okay?
Nope. You just did them, that's, don't need to do twice.
Okay.
I motion the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. There's a roll call, you said? Okay, Steve?
Approved.
Gerardo?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Larry?
Aye.
Jean?
Yes.
Kathy?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Cool. Consent agenda passes. Up next, we have the executive director's report.
I sent an email at 5:29 p.m. this afternoon. Pull this down so you can hear me. Just to real briefly, we have a lot going on, so I will keep it brief tonight. We are participating in Pride Fest. I sent out a notification to all of you, so if you have any questions, please do reach out to me. We've been flooded on social media, so we're going to address that as necessary. For more than likely submitting something as a public to all of our social media platforms. I shared it with you ahead of time because it does technically say from the staff and board of trustees. So if you have any questions or objections, please let me know and we'll get together and revise that edition before we submit it, probably first thing tomorrow morning. Some good news. We have hired our first manager since the beginning of the pandemic. So March of 2020, when I took over, February 2020, We hadn't hired any new people for the most part, except for, some staff, a couple of staff members, but this is our first manager, so it's really exciting. Her name is Christine Pryor. I've invited her to come next week or next month to our board meeting because I didn't give her enough notice this time. My apologies. Also iPads that you see in front of you. If you need help, I sent in that email a link to Isaac's schedule, so you can schedule a time to meet with Isaac to get the details worked out, and he can get you set up with a one-on-one meeting. Again, if you're comfortable or familiar with iPads and technology, go ahead and set them up using your library email. We'll send an email to your library email account for verification. Also asks for a cell phone number. So putting that cell phone number is what's called multi-factor authentication. We just ask that you use all those, follow all the steps, and it should automatically populate with all the apps that you might use as trustees. Also, Anna and I are going to be sharing this presentation that has been handed to you. I'm not close enough to the projector to be able to project on the screen, so I'll just walk you through this document here, which was handed to each of you. And if you didn't get one, and Susan's got one for you, I'll skip library operations because I don't want to spoil Anna's thunder, take away her great statements. But the second page of it is library services. We will be sending a newsletter out, should be in the mailboxes in early June in anticipation of our summer program. In the center of the pictures is a picture of our branch, which is also up and running. I encourage all trustees and people listening at home to sign up for Read Beyond the Beaten Path, which is our summer library program running from June 4th to August 6th. Read for prizes, and it's a lot of fun. So please do. It's actually in the title of the summer program this time, reading. So it's all about library activities. This has been around since 1896, summer programs at libraries. So I encourage you, if you haven't participated before, to do so. I signed myself and my two boys up. In the center picture at the bottom is One Woman Hamlet, puppet show presentation we had at the library here, talking about the stigma of mental health. And then on the bottom left is two little Girl Scouts from our local Girl Scout troop collecting goodies out by our front doors for children in Ukraine. So really cool stuff happening on that front. Next up in the sheets is Friends of the Waukegan Public Library are sponsoring our summer concert series every Friday from 12 to 1 in June, July, and August. We will have a concert as we had before, and we're hoping to have vending and food there, some local vendors. They're back. So everybody come on 12 to 1 on Friday. We're also still going to be participating in Art Walk during the summer as well. So the third Saturday from roughly 5 to 9 or 5 to 7 or so, the library will be having some music or paint and sip, paint and ice cream type of scenarios at our courtyard out front. It's a great stage, a great place to participate in library programming. Our library community and engagement and outreach showcases a few items like Salem Senior Ministry, internet safety classes, Waukegan Public Schools. We participated in an Earth Day event. Goodwill Great Lakes has been here pretty faithfully with the jobs booth tabling at our library. The Boys and Girls Club activity that happened on April 14th at the 1st, 2nd, and 4th Ward meeting. And the Lake County Nature Network had an information table and a salamander for people to visit here at the library as well on April 6th. A few of the pictures connote that Prairie State Legal came and gave a presentation at our library about expungement of records. And the bottom left-hand, or the left-hand and going clockwise, the picture of the Rosalind Franklin United Healthcare bus. So they are for basic health screenings, blood pressure, blood sugars, and so forth. People can come to the library and receive service, medical treatment, light medical treatment, but medical treatment nonetheless. And last but certainly not least is our beloved lizard Lizzie has an incurable illness that he's not going to make it. And so on this Saturday, the 21st, we're going to say goodbye to Lizzie. But if you want to come visit Lizzie at the library, he'll be in the children's department until Friday close of business, so about 7 p.m. If you want to come visit, people in the public, if you'd like to come see our lizard Lizzie one last time, come visit him as he goes over that the Sunset Bridge. So he's been a beloved member of our family as well. Don't know the answer to that question yet, but I will certainly let you know when I do. And then the last page, I guess I shouldn't say last, but certainly not least, we are incredibly grateful to the Healthcare Foundation of Northern Lake County. We won an award and it was presented. Jennifer Cordova attended for us on, that was down in Libertyville at the Independence Grove Conference Center. They also, the award comes with a $15,000 grant that helps us further our health education literacy programs here at the library. So special thanks to the Healthcare Foundation of Northern Lake County. And just again, the library is award winning. I wanted to encourage you to ask questions and I will pass on the torch to our president. Thank you very much for the opportunity to serve.
I have a question.
Shoot.
What's the position that was for the manager?
HR manager, human resources.
Ooh.
We're very excited. She came from a background of healthcare and she's got lots of experience and is super excited to be here.
All right.
We're grateful to have her.
Awesome. Well, now next is the operations report with Anna.
Thank you. Go to the first page of this presentation to go clockwise. The first page, you see Francisco and Elle. They're outside by our garden. It's going to be a vegetable garden this year. The children's department is going to plant food, vegetables, and the children enjoy it. And when you see this picture, they're actually putting up the fence. Hopefully, it will keep certain people out of the garden. And they had actually had a hard time finding lumber because that time of our economic situation. And next to it, you see all of us taking a pic in that photo, and that was on Earth Day. We have our Narcan training. So we have a pretty good turnout for the training, especially where everybody have, we have to get others chest cover. And next month, we will, in June, we will be having AED and CPR training, just better serve our community. And the picture below that, that is our book drop. It used to be broken. And then we got apart and have it fixed. And that is in the process of repairing the book drop. So now patrons, they can return the books via the book drop. And then you see, oh, there's a picture there for Star Wars. We have tremendous turnout on May 4th. If you're a fan, you know what I mean. And then the tulips, those are the red tulips right up in the front. So, and operations has been, the maintenance department has been doing landscaping. They've been taking out weeds or cleaning the area, spring cleaning for the upcoming year. The IT department, our IT department, who you may know pretty soon if you call Isaac to help you with the iPad, he will be busy moving our data from the server to the cloud, just for better security. And he's also working on POT, P-O-T. Not what you think. Actually means plain old phone.
What is it?
Plain old phone.
Okay.
Telephone companies don't want us to use these phones anymore. So our phone bill has been gradually going up. They're trying to force people to go on digital. So he will be pricing out telephones. He is also busy working on Find More Illinois. That is the interlibrary loan service that we talked about previously. And our collection department, a friend has been contacting the the high school for yearbooks. So I think we go back many years, about 50 years for the high school for yearbooks. Wow. And she's also been reviewing subscriptions, and she worked with the online resource working group, which is our internal customers, and cancel a video on demand. We look at how many people use the services, and then see whether it's cost effective to keep that service, and we cancel one, and then we keep some. I think that's it for operations. Any questions?
Who else? We don't have a contract anymore for landscaping?
We do for certain things, like they will come out for snow. And like they would deliver mulch. But he was trying to get somebody up for spring cleaning and get busy. So the best we could do is get them to deliver the mulch.
But didn't we used to have a contract for? It
I think
died.
that company went out of business. I believe.
And I noticed when I came in tonight, in the northwest corner over here, right out there, there's the garden area. It looks like that there's some wooden
Mhm.
structures around it and colorful paints, and it was very,
Yes.
very, very appealing. Is
Yeah.
that a new undertaking that's being shown up there?
Yes, that would be the vegetable garden for children.
Uh-huh. It's very colorful, very, very nice. Very nice.
What are they planting?
Oh, I didn't ask.
They're working with the Waukegan Grow, the Green Grow Waukegan group, the gardening group. So it'll be a community garden for children to experiment. Digging in the Dirt will be the name of the program put on by our children's department staff member Ruby.
Well, I love gardening. I'm a gardener. I have a little greenhouse.
Right.
So that's why I asked. I'm interested in what they were planting. So. Okay.
Thank you, Anna. Next on the agenda, I just listed our old business. That was me just thinking of what we haven't finished since past, I don't know. Just keep it on our brains to next meetings. Next on new business is the actual budget report for April 2022. And are you able to?
Oh, sure.
That
This will represent our fiscal year 2022. And good news, we're in the black. Some areas we are over and some area we're under. For salary and benefits, personnel costs, we are like 13% under, mainly because some of the positions we did not fill. Good example is the HR manager. We planned for their positions and we didn't fill until this fiscal year. And the administrative services, the overage is mainly legal fees, and also because we have.
I didn't say a word.
And mainly, we had a specialist appraising the Bratbury collection, which we never budgeted. And of course, building services, just we went over budget because it just the cost is a lot higher than we anticipated. And the grants is basically funded by grants. Most of them are totally funded by grants. And then tech services, we did go over a bit. That we spend a lot of money on security. It's just something that is recommended to us from both the bank and the insurance company. And something we take that very seriously. Any questions?
Hey. Next,
I thought it was gonna be the committee, the whole meeting.
it's okay, we can push it back to committee of the whole.
Thank you.
It seems like a better place for anyways. We'll move the fax files to committee of the whole. And up next, speaking of that, is a check-in. Just want to see how everyone thought committee of the whole went. What if there were suggestions.
I thought it was a good idea for some people from having a bunch of meetings.
I think it's a very creative way to, for this, from my experience as a trustee, it's a new experience to do it that way. And I think it's creative and exciting. And it does save time for this meeting.
Yeah.
So it's, I think it's worthwhile to keep on trying it out for a while and see how it develops further.
Yeah, no, I find it engaging, and especially in that the conversations don't have to be repeated over and over again in groups.
I voted for it, but I didn't make the first one. My husband was sick, so.
Well, I have great news about the second one.
Okay.
I would suggest maybe, your old business items
Yeah.
would also be good ones to put on that, where you have business discussion items there, not just necessarily your committee reports, although, those are important, and I don't want to diminish that at all. I'm just saying, you can also add stuff that might not be assigned to a particular committee to do, so that it's really the discussion time, and this meeting then remains your business meeting. You might want to put on your next agenda, hopefully we can have it on, the Great Bratbury Collection Agreement. Just real briefly, Mr. Bill or Gil? Bill. Sent me an email after I had reached out saying what's going on. The last time we had a meeting, it was probably 2 months ago, and they had their attorney had some family, I don't know whether it was a death in the family or an illness in the family, and so it was going to take a while for the attorney to get to it. Well, just recently they have hired a different attorney to review the agreement, and it had just been approved in the last couple of weeks, I think. So somebody from Ansel Blink, a local government firm, is reviewing the draft. When I hear something back, I'll share it, and they said they would not be able to get it for tonight's meeting. So let's hope we get it on next meeting. I think the agreement is in good shape. They may think that there should be a little more control overall in their lap. But I think it's still owned by the library. And so you have to have some checks and balances. While they will have predominant control and autonomy, there still needs to be some protection because it is the library's asset. And I thought we did a good job of compromising and getting those protections in place for both organizations. And but legal counsel may disagree. And if he or she does, the question is going to be, will we modify it at all? And at that point, I need to bring it all to the board, and you will get it in advance. It could be that it's something that is on your. So I'm hoping that we can get some progress here and get it done. But just so you know, we haven't been doing anything. It's the administration or the trustees that were sitting on that group. It's just in the Historical Society's hands, and we've just been waiting. That's an off the agenda update.
I had you later for.
Oh, well, then I should have. We'll skip that.
We're on a roll, so I was like, it's gonna happen eventually. It's like,
You don't get to me. Okay, I'll be quiet.
no, it's good.
Thank you for the update. I was, as a member of our libraries committee looking at all that, I will say that we have worked very diligently on that and spent some real time on it, trying to make it work. And so I'm looking forward to what they have to offer and getting it resolved.
Yep.
Getting it resolved as soon as we can.
Awesome. Any other comments about committee of the whole? Okay. Next, we have the policy review schedule that we did look over during committee of the whole, but I knew there was still some discussion that might not have been finished. And so I kept it as a separate item. It's near the end of your packet, the same as it was before. Yeah. Putting that out there for any further discussion or
So where is 2022?
not on there because the goal is to get through all of our unreviewed policy by the end of this year without a schedule and just getting through it all. That by next year, we're on track.
So on the schedule for those that have not been, so I was looking at the internet access was scheduled for February.
Yeah.
And it was just in this board.
Yeah.
Packet, right? So just to clarify, you're saying that all those that are lagging will be done by the end of the year.
Mhm. Even if we are looking at them pretty quickly again, we're looking at them again and we're just gonna keep practicing, sticking with the schedule and going to it.
And then can you clarify for me, in July, it says year A, mid-year executive director evaluation. Then year B, in January and February, is executive director evaluation. What's so this is the mid-year for the current year,
Right.
and then that is the review for the whole year. Is that how that follows?
Right, yeah, so basically in which we can move these around, we don't have to be cemented to this and we can just vote to change it. But I think it's very important that we have a mid-year evaluation with the executive director. I think just a once a year with the goals is not going to be helpful for them, not going to be helpful for us.
That's right.
We need to be able to give feedback, give check-ins with goals, how they're going, if things need to change.
Right.
So that is my attempt at that, because essentially, I might have the math wrong, but it should be in January, we do the evaluations, in July, we do the check-ins, which I'm now looking at this, and this doesn't actually match up, so we do need to fix that.
And so then, yeah, because in year B, right,
Yeah.
you would also have the mid-year evaluation.
Right, yeah,
Right?
so,
So every year you would have a mid-year, and every year you would have a director evaluation in January, February.
And which would be considered the annual, right?
yeah,
Right.
And I had questions on it, I still haven't.
I know. But I still want us to practice like getting it out, even if.
I
they just
understand that, but I still have that.
It will not be a,
Not knowing when we're gonna hire the person, I don't know how you can determine that January is gonna be the actual review. The mid-year review could be 9 months after you've been hired if we do July. That's mine. It should be maybe on the bottom, just say that there will be a mid-year and dates to be determined by when the person is hired.
yes, but then we wouldn't be able to have a schedule of keeping track of all the other policies.
But how can you hire somebody in December and have a evaluation person in January?
I don't think we're gonna hire somebody in.
I'm just saying, even if it's November, you just hired them. How are you gonna have
We would still be going through the process with them, even if, let's say, we hire them in December, January, we talk them through what the process would be and go over it. And then July, we check in with them. And next January, we actually evaluate them.
but their review is done yearly, so we would have to give them that year at the end of whenever their year is, determine if you're gonna keep them, am I correct?
We decide what we want to do. Right now, we haven't evaluated in years.
Say it again.
We decide what the schedule for evaluating them.
Once they're hired. Am I making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe I can get you both together on this. What I'm hearing is the board's looking to have a set schedule.
Right, I understand
And
that.
your concern is on that first go around, how do you get it synced up with the anniversary of hire versus this schedule? And you'll probably meld it in and say somebody is hired August. probably 6 months later, maybe you do 7 months later, but I would do probably 4 months into it. The first year, you'll probably want to do a couple of them. And then you get it onto an annual one, starting with the January and July approach. But you're just going to merge it in as best you can. But you want to set that communication goal, the goals, the responsibilities, and how often each of you want to have what type of communication from the executive director between meetings annually. All that you need to work out with whoever comes into that position.
One, just to kind of add on to that. So whatever you want to call it, I don't care, but I do think at the beginning of the year, when you're starting to set strategies for the whole year and the calendar, someone needs to sit down and make sure that the executive director from the beginning of the year is on board with what the trustees want, right? It may not be an evaluation if they've not been here a year, but somebody has to go over goals and objectives and what we're trying to accomplish.
Expectations.
Right, and then work into, and I did, so actually, I did have a follow-up question because I found it odd that the evaluations would have been on a policy review schedule. I'm not used to seeing an evaluation, because then I thought, oh, well, is it a policy to say that we're going to review a director mid-year and annually? But from what I'm hearing now, it's actually their mid-year evaluation and their annual evaluation. I'm not used to seeing that as a policy. I'm used to seeing that more under, so for example, under the personnel policy, right? I would see that as a subset of that to say mid-year, annually they're going to be reviewed. And then that takes care of the issue of when do they join, right? And then you say at the beginning of the year, you're going to have some sort of a goal setting session, because why would you call that out as a policy when we have a personnel section? Wouldn't that just be part of the personnel
It was policy, the governance committee. And so the governance committee was in charge of working on policy and evaluations. So I guess this could be called governance calendar. I don't know. But it is not policy, that is correct. Just was mapping it out.
Yeah, so then, because then I think that there needs to be clarification somewhere that it's really not a policy, because those are, if I look at this, perhaps, right, those are the only things that are not policy. So is there a separate section that calls out that this is what you do with the executive director and it's not part of the policy?
My question was, I was here for the last director, and her time up happened to be at a certain point. She got her evaluation, it wasn't in January. You have so many days that you have to tell them either you're gonna keep them or not. And to wait until January to do that is where I'm at. Okay, if they started in August, you don't want to tell them in January of next, when 4 months after their year is up, when you should have notified them one way or the other. That's what I'm going on.
So you're talking about a probationary period?
No, I'm talking about when you do the evaluation based on when they get hired. When we hired her, she had a year.
Okay.
Okay, from the date that she was hired. So if we're doing the evaluation in January and she was hired, the person is hired in August, that's a 4-month difference. And when, if we legally have the right to say, in January now, you've been here 4 months past your time, we don't want you. Or is she like, you stuck with me? Okay, because you didn't do it in the year when it was supposed to be done.
Did you have a contract with the executive director?
Yes, it was for 1 year.
All right, so within the contract, there might be specifics with respect to the evaluation. It could be a multiple year contract. And so that's all part of the negotiations with an incoming executive director, how, what terms you want in there. And if it has a notice provision that if I'm not going to be renewed, I need to be told by this date, that will impact when you have to do evaluation.
And so that's what I was.
That's where you're coming from now.
That's where I'm
Okay.
coming from.
Yep. And if you've got a contractual requirement, then you need to put that on the calendar. You know, so this is maybe more of a governance calendar is what I'm hearing.
Yes, I
understand what
caution
Steve
you.
is saying.
We made it clear to the prior executive director that we would have a review at the end of the year. It was like, we made it very clear, and I believe it was in the contract as our prior. So we made it very clear up front.
That's my only reason for my disagreement.
No,
Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful idea. Okay.
I understand the disagreement. I have a question that, you probably can answer. This is probably, maybe not yes, but is it not possible that, let's say, whatever this, contract was, that it was, let's say, they were hired in November, but it was a 13-month contract and we were.
Absolutely.
So we could even do that where it creates a contract that sets it up so that we have the dates set so that it keeps us on this. Yes, I get that we would still be off, but in my head, I was like, well, we could just do that. And I guess I didn't make that known to other people besides my head, so. So.
She pulled it out.
Thank you. So yes, this would be, I guess, a governance calendar. We could even just have a separate thing down here with whatever that's specific to the executive director evaluation. But also, I did think we would review the evaluation system every couple of years as well. Maybe not while we're evaluating them, but ourselves, especially after like we're trying something out. So
And that's what, sorry, Mary, that's what I thought when I saw policy review. That's
Yeah.
what I was, because it looked like to me you were evaluating the content of how you're going to
Yes.
evaluate them. and
Yeah.
then I was like, well,
Because
is
that's
it a real evaluation? And I thought, well, why is that a policy?
Right. Yeah,
Kind of confusing,
I get that. So
especially since it wasn't included in each year. That's why I thought you were just reviewing the mechanism that you're using.
I think that was my first thought, because now that we're talking about it, it's making sense in my head that that's what I had.
Which
So
makes sense, right, that you're gonna look at how are you material judging them,
right,
right? I get
So-
that makes perfect sense.
we could keep a policy schedule similar to this without moving things probably too much around, but we can work on a draft of the next, we can do it now. I mean, we got actually lots of time, but so we would keep it basically the same. I did notice that we would look at board bylaws in January and October, which we probably wouldn't need to do. So, yeah,
And can I ask you another
Yeah.
question? So then I got confused because I saw in year A,
Yeah.
internet access is in February.
Yeah.
But then I see in year B, we're also doing internet access, but then it's in
Yeah.
June. But then I didn't, so is there, so every one is not repeated, which I get, right, typically
Yes.
because of the cycle. And then is there a reason why it's listed, because like personnel is listed in the same month, but it has the different items that are going to be
Right.
reviewed, right?
Yeah.
So that made sense. But then I couldn't follow the logic with the internet.
access is a yearly one that we have to look at yearly.
Okay,
So that could be February. I mean, if we're, don't need to look at the executive director evaluation for 2 months of judging it, then, I mean, whatever is in,
so did you just move that down because of the insert up here?
yeah, I just moved it down. And personnel was moved to the same months just because we moved everything from November and December so that there wouldn't be any policy reviewed then. So, I guess looking at this, if we could, on year B, get rid of the executive director evaluation continue. And we could put internet access, 240 internet access there. And remove it from June. And that should move it. We do actually wait. Oh no, sexual harassment policy is yearly, so that's fine.
And you said we have 101 twice in 1 year because,
That was a mistake, so we can cross off the maybe October one. Sure. Not sure if you guys can think of any, like, that could just be a blank month for any new policy we create, because I'm sure we will maybe come up with new ones.
And when we review these, are we reviewing these to see if they really need to be policy?
Yes.
That's part of it, yeah.
Okay. Some of them.
Whether to update them and whether you need them.
So that's part of this review for the next
Yeah.
cycle. So it may not carry year over year. It's changed.
So if, yeah,
It
we do
goes
get
away.
rid of something, then we could just cross it off and maybe replace it with anything else or whatever we need.
So then just to clarify, so Steve's earlier point about the executive director review being more of a subset of the personnel category. It sounds from what I'm hearing that would not be under that category, it would be under a different category, but not a policy category. Is that I'm a little confused here.
We are looking at the process of it and the forms that we use and evaluating that in a policy sense. So is this process that we're doing? And we could codify it in policy as a way to really come up with these plans or whatever, but is this a process that we still think is working? Is it something we don't think is working? Not like Gene said, the actual evaluation, which will probably be squeezing in somewhere in there. So.
Well, okay, so it's a work in progress, and we're just sort of wait to see what happens when we kind of redo it for the next meeting, kind of thing. Is that what we're?
We can, yeah, I can come up with, I mean, all that I was gonna change for now is the February in year B would add 240 internet access, which would then be crossed off from June in year B. And removing October year A board bylaws.
But couldn't we take the, I still don't understand why we have a policy to review the evaluation, because could we not just do that under personnel? Right?
I mean, we could, because personnel will become a lot different once we have the union, but as of right now, it's a very big document.
And you could say, as part of personnel, in one of the categories is when you're gonna review the mechanism that you use for executive director review. Because I still think it's confusing to say mid-year executive director evaluation. It to me means exactly what Gene was saying, that we're gonna review them. I think it cleans it up if we just move it under personnel, because it's really part of personnel.
I mean,
could you just put 301 in July and put, that's what we're gonna do for July?
I mean, it's.
As personnel, and say this is what we're gonna work on for part, what that part of personnel.
John?
I just wanted to comment that, as Rob mentioned, we are going to be a union environment soon, so we will want to have these discussions close to budget season. Some of the monetary conversations, like the salaries and appointments and various other things that have salary positions, all those things like come close to the time when we would sit down and discuss budget. Because otherwise we have them in February or something. I'm not saying that's what we're having, but if we have them too early and then we, hadn't budgeted for them, or we have to then remember to include that in the budget discussions 9 months later, it'll become complicated. I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think anything monetary should happen close to the budget season.
which would be,
Usually we start in November, don't we?
But we can set the policy, so the guidelines before. that.
so what I'm hearing is we would essentially just include in policy 301 personnel, the executive director evaluation process. Would be, I guess, under,
exactly what you wrote it as. That's what we're gonna discuss, whether the document that we're using to evaluate him is still good. Or is it need correct changes? Is there something, just make it 301 and that's what we're gonna discuss that month.
okay, right, but is it, do you think it's still okay that we split up 301 the way it is, or? Just all of zero, it's a
Yeah,
quite large
Yeah,
document.
I mean, it's already
Right.
split up, so.
So that's,
yeah.
so if we just make July 301
Personnel.
personnel, executive director evaluation process.
I think process is the key word.
301.
And then I would take it off of year B in January because you're doing all that.
Yeah. Well, I hope, what if, since we don't need it in October, and this would make it so that we can still hold that in July and January of the, like we'd be clearing out those. What's that? That would work. I was trying to think of if we could move it so that July and January of the months, we aren't doing any policy. That we could save for the process then.
Yeah, if you used year A, for example, January, put that down in October, leaving both Januaries open for the actual evaluation.
Yeah.
But then I think it goes back to the point of when you hire that, what's in the contract.
Which,
Evaluation, right? I don't think you need the, my opinion is you don't need the evaluation on this sheet. It's gonna be driven by whatever is in the agreement. And then you manage to the agreement like you manage to any other agreement. The process can be evaluated every other year. And then like Gene said, you make changes to it if it's not applicable, add to it, delete, change it. And then whatever's in their employment agreement, that's what the trustees are responsible for reviewing.
right, I'm just trying to make it so that there isn't policy that we should be reviewing, that we're focusing on that task that month, because that's what the big problem will be, besides the normal financial stuff that we have to do. We won't have to look over any policy, we won't have to think about writing anything, we would just focus on that process and be able to go into closed session. We wouldn't be then pushing off doing board bylaws or sexual harassment prohibition policy. That would not even be able to be on the agenda, so that we don't then skip it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that though with an employment agreement, right? You don't even have the person yet, so you don't know how many months you're gonna be out or what month it's gonna slate into yet. So if I take myself, for example, I'm under contract with the credit union. My cycle does not run concurrent with the employee cycle, and it does not run concurrent with the year, right? Because it's all in the employment contract. This is the month you join. We're gonna review you 6 months from that. That's what the board reviews. And then if you get a salary increase at 6 months from that, whenever it is in the year, and it's separate from the policy, because the contract guides the board on when they need to do the review and do the salary adjustment if there's one to do, like Gene said. I think it's hard to put it on here because it's,
And that's the process of what I was trying to do, is find a way to make it so that we have it set and there isn't that shifting.
yeah, unless you're gonna, the other option is once somebody's hired, then we go back and then shift what was gonna be in those months to the open months. That's the other option. If that's what you want to do and not have anything in that.
I think that would be the,
Then probably have to just change it.
okay, so. Then, since this would not go into effect until next year, I would make a motion to table this until we find hire our executive director permanently, and if it gets by the end of the year, we'll bring it, it wouldn't be tabling, it'd be the other phrase that we wait for a long time. 'Cause
Well,
Set
table-
aside.
Yeah, what you can do now is just say, I will bring it back after we have the executive director on. You don't have to do a formal thing, just know
Okay.
the minutes can just reflect no action. We'll bring it back.
Okay. Cool, we'll bring it back when we have an executive director permanently. Think about how we can make it fit in the schedule. Cool. Then I guess good of the order. I'll make it quick. You guys have my president's report in there. Just some of the stuff that I'm working on. I did want to how about this? I created summaries of our self-evaluations that we did. Thank you. You guys can all read it. I think, yeah, we'll send it out to you digitally, because looking at this, it's not easy to tell which colors are which, but I think you guys can read numbers, so you know. Now, we didn't all complete it, and I know, like, Steve, that was your first meeting, basically, so not like the most informative of information, but I do think it's good to look at this process, like I was bringing up about the executive director evaluation, and is this giving us information that is showing board growth and helping us figure out what we need to do differently? So you guys can look through all those graphs, they're fun. But then I typed up a summary. The sheet has like this table, and I typed in the things that we thought we each were doing well, what the board was doing well, what we thought we could do better, what we want the board to do better, and what we want to accomplish. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to read it. Looking at the board shines, a lot of people commented on the Ray Bradbury collection moving forward, which was very recent, so I knew that was a relief for a lot of us. I think a lot of us are excited for the new, like the new group that we all have together and working together and getting a lot done. Things that we talked about doing differently, room for growth. Altogether is making sure we have the information we all need to make decisions. And I really liked making the library the place for people to, in our community, to gather and learn. And Steve, I wish I wrote down something that you wrote on yours, because I really liked it. And it's left my notes at work, so I apologize, but when I do get it, I'll send it out, because this is something very great that, oh, it was right there at the bottom. Put the past behind us and learn from it. Love that as a kind of a mantra. We're not gonna worry about what we did back then. We're just gonna learn from it and keep doing the best we can. So, yeah, does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, John.
I saw that Rebecca commented that she had not received it, so I just sent it to Rebecca and Kathy. By
Okay.
email, so. And it's also been sent to the whole board now.
Cool. Okay, then the other thing I had to do for the president's report is, now you'll see in there that I said that upcoming meetings would be June 1st and June 15th. But I am a dum-dum, and we scheduled the executive director interviews on June 1st. So we cannot be in two places at once. So our options are to hold the committee of the whole without 3 of our trustees on the 1st, but I think that's possible, but if we don't like that, the other idea was pushing all our meetings back 1 week. June has 5 weeks, so we would, instead of meeting for committee of the whole on the 1st, we would meet on the 8th. Instead of meeting for the regular board on June 15th, we would meet on the 22nd. Don't know how possible that is.
Is the executive director information gonna be done during that meeting?
Meeting. We're doing the interviews with
Right, are we gonna be talking about it that week of the 21st? The meeting on the 21st? I won't be here. I know I won't be here that week.
okay, I don't know if we
And I
would
don't
be, I would have to ask like I don't know how the timeline of interview to having a candidate that the search committee is sending, yes,
Kathy also is not available on June 22nd.
okay. So I don't know if maybe even a different
If
day.
it's gonna discuss the executive director, I'd rather not, but if it's not gonna discuss the director, I know I missed a meeting.
I don't know the answer to that, but we're just floating that out there.
We could also go back to regular meeting schedule for the month of June and then re-engage committee of the whole of July. So basically just do the finance committee before the board, like we did before, governance committee meeting, perhaps at a different time as the executive director's committee interviews.
Would be, oh yeah, governance would be at the same time as the interviews, so.
Your committee of the whole on the 8th, like you were talking, but keep your regular meeting on the 15th.
I mean, we could do that, I mean, we would then know what we'll schedule the next week, would be there. Be a pretty easy board packet and agenda to be sending out. We're discussing it then anyways. I see how much you guys would like that, short of a turnaround between them, so. Move committee of the whole to June 8th and have our regular meeting on the 15th.
Good.
Works for me.
Kathy, did you say that's good?
Yeah.
Okay,
So, so the June 1st executive director, potential executive director interviews It's just for the executive search committee?
Yes.
Not the whole board?
Right. We're doing just the small panel interviews
I
for
see.
them,
Okay.
bringing it to.
Well, the June 8th and June 15th works for me, it's fine.
8 and 15 works for me.
I'm okay with it.
I mean, we'll check in with Nathan, but it sounds like for the majority of us, that's fine. I know, John, you have friends or foundation.
Friends on the 8th, so I'll communicate with them to get it rearranged or change the location, because they also meet in the boardroom, which is where we're meeting for committee of the whole, so I'll just ask them if they can meet elsewhere.
Okay. Okay, so there we would say June 8th and 2022 and June 15th.
Same time.
In a great place, yeah. Okay,
And that's 6 and that's 6:30. I think. According to the calendar. Can we do the whole at 6?
I'm 6:30.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, we might have done 6 last time, but I think we can just keep it at 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
Just make all the meetings at 6:30.
Sweet.
And
And the committee means upstairs.
In the boardroom, yes.
And just a quick continued update about the executive director's search. We have interviews coming up. There's not much to say really, because we just have the interviews. That'll be posted as a public meeting, but then obviously closed session to do the interviews. The survey is, I'm working with Susan and Christine, the new HR, to get the survey out to the staff. That should be done in the next couple of weeks. Person was at a professional development, so our paths kept not crossing, so yeah, I think that's everything that I have for executive director search.
I'm just curious, how, do we have any idea how many? Do we have any idea how many potential candidates we have interviewing on July 1st, on June 1st?
We have 3.
How many?
3.
3. Oh,
We're interviewing 3 that day. There's,
That's total, that's all of them that we have to interview.
that's the ones that made it past the phone screening and to the interview.
And then the actual board will then meet them and after you do this, or
Yes, there would still be meeting and all that, and probably whatever the next step of the process is. I've only been checking what the current step of the process is. We heard from Carl. Do you have anything else?
Just a quick update on collective bargaining. We do have the second meeting scheduled for a week from this Friday, 8 a.m. It will be a short meeting where we will present the initial proposals on behalf of the library board. And they've been out, reviewed. I've gotten some good comments back from Susan and Jonathan, and have sent out the revised proposal today. The union's representative did not want to provide their proposal in advance of the first meeting. They wanted to present it. And that's typical, especially on an initial contract go around, but so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hand out our proposal next Friday, go through it. There's significant differences, that's what I was trying to say, in approach. One is voting into management rights considerably with all sorts of committees where employees input and direction rather than management direction on topics. For those of you that saw the union proposal, there are none of those in the initial proposal for the employer. And the goal, as I indicated in an email today, is to maintain as much management rights as you can during collective bargaining, and to make sure anything you agree to is within your financial risk. So that's where we're going, and we will do in closed session updates going forward. If I do anything in the public meeting like this, it's going to be just like I did here, very general. This is where we're at. Here's our next meeting. Things are going well. If we need guidance or direction from the board, that's when we go into closed session. And you could say, what did you just agree to? Or no, don't agree to that. Those types of things when it comes to wage increases, come back to the board. The economics. Union's proposal had no economics in it. I put everything except health insurance contributions and wages in our proposal. Essentially putting in what is current on the leaves and benefits, with a few exceptions where it's my philosophy. And if you disagree with this approach, please tell me that there are certain things that ought to be in your initial proposal less than what's currently in place, and have the employees have to work to get back to that. Because a lot of their proposals are taking for granted that current is the minimum and they're going to get above that. Where my philosophy is the current benefits are this. It's nothing. You got to put it in the collective bargaining agreement in order for it to exist going forward. That's not quite true. Your policies will still be applicable to the bargaining unit numbers unless the collective bargaining agreement conflicts. You need to read them together where you can, but if there's a specific conflict, collective bargaining agreement controls. So that's where we're at. And if you have questions about the process or what's going on, all board members are certainly welcome to get copies of the proposal. I don't keep secrets, but the committee will work to get it done as quickly as possible.
Who came up with 8 o'clock?
I believe I might have suggested that so that, well, we talked about it a little bit in different members of the committee's schedules, and maybe you weren't involved in that conversation. It's a bit of a stretch for me to get up here, but it's also the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, with the idea, let's get it done, go home and have fun. At least that was my approach to life. And we wanted to get to it if we could by the end of May. Okay. So sorry about that.
Hallelujah, you blocks, it's still 8 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock.
And make sure to have the coffee on.
Any other questions? You say, what are you doing, Carol? Although that's always a legitimate question.
Trustee comments. We'll start with our digital friends. I'd like to go first.
Kathy, you're unmuted. Do you have, oh, you just muted, Kathy. Now Rebecca's unmuted. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh. I don't have any comments. I do appreciate the flexibility again of allowing me to do this virtually. And I look forward to coming back in person when I can, or when I'm able to, but see you guys all. But thank you.
Kathy, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Oh. Thank you for letting me do this too. I'm quarantining right now, so didn't want to spread any germs to anyone.
Thank you.
Jean?
No, I don't have anything.
No comment.
No comments.
Yes, I wanted to give some thank you shout outs to some staff members. Jennifer Cordova, Marilyn McClellan, and Francisco Martinez. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited into the Waukegan High School Track, Tech, and Trade Fair to show job opportunities. I was talking about print and design and how that's a viable career, graphic designer for Waukegan Public Schools. And I thought, well, I'm gonna be in a building with a bunch of kids, might as well have flyers and flags that I could hand out to promote the library. And so Jennifer got me a bag with all these flyers, information things, and that kind of, it was exciting to see kids get excited about like pencils with their logo on it, sunglasses, those were like a hot item. So in the finances, we're like, why are we getting 1,000 sunglasses? It's for these sorts of like community events. When I picked it up, it was handed to me by Marilyn, and they gave me a quick tour of the children's area department. And there's this tree with a bunch of texture, and Francisco helped build that. And it's just huge. It's very exciting. There were kids touching and just really activating the space. And then lastly, they showed me the little free libraries that Francisco built. And I'm just like really excited. We're nearing the launch date of putting them in parks throughout the community. So there's a lot of good work happening, and I appreciate them putting up with me. Thank you.
I know I had my report, but thank you guys. I know during the report I said, I think I say things, and I apologize that not everything I think I say clearly is actually said clearly. I appreciate you guys helping me see that. Thank you.
Nothing else from me.
Well, do we have a motion to end the meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Yeah, you need a second.
I,
I,
Okay. And all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Any objection or abstains? Cool. And that was pretty close to 65 minutes. So.